Yeah, how are you doing? In this video, I'm going to be talking about a very important topic. It's called Why They Don't Want You to Change. And this is something to do with what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be transformed by the renewal of His Word. But then there are also forces that just want us to stay the same because it's so easy for us as humans to have habits and things like that. So we're going to talk about that. But before we do that, I'm just going to share a poem with you. It's called Dodge. So it's Dodge Part 2. Yes. The decisions are a concerning collision of light and dark, an incision in the fabric of space based on the direction I take. Paul say there's a war between the body and the soul. It's a struggle to do anything at all. Basic miracles mirroring a carnal heart's fiery desire, spontaneously combusting fumes forming different shapes in distant planes of fake platitudes. It fills the void where the whole unexplored unfolds. It moored and left a leaking hole in one. Yeah, so that's Dodge Part 2. So why they don't want you to change? So the human organisms, you like our everyone, most like scientists. You see, finding it hard to even start this because it's a huge thing. Our brains develop with this fear, a huge fear of the unknown. So a lot of people fear death simply because they don't know what happens. No one knows what happens. So this fear actually guides our subconscious in every decision that we make. This is just a fact as much as our flight and flight response is a fact. It's because we react in such a way that we're reactive in such a way. So there's certain reactions that you can see in the environment that you are around that will try to make you like not be exactly where you need to be. And this is why we're talking about this. And you should also be able to share whatever you think about this topic with me as well, because I'm also interested to hear what you think about that. So we already have this irrational fear of death, right? And then from that fear of death, it's a fear actually clothed as the unknown. So this is something we have to understand that in the subconscious, it's like always wears a mask in everything. So it's like you're moving everything, but then it's always behind the scenes and no one really knows. This is why I said it's a huge topic because it's something that happens so often or so constantly that even you watching this video or whatever you did today, yesterday, or will do tomorrow, it's actually based on the subconscious, which primarily it's just like triggered by these instincts. So they say it feels and thinks like a child that's 3 years or maybe 7 years. That's the understanding of the subconscious. So you can't access it with logic. So some of the things that will happen around you will happen, and you won't even have a word to say, but you'll see it because our body by God is created to just be a truthful mechanism. The more truth it tells, so it just shows truth. That's why even if you lie, your body will tell the truth. That's just how it is. So the harder the people want to stop you, it is because they think about themselves in relation to you. So they don't know what would happen if you were shining and they were in the dark, the unknown. So it will put them in a situation whereby if there's a change, then they won't know what happens to them in relation to you. Not to you. It's never about you. It's always like a selfish thing. This is why whatever Jesus said, he said, forgive them, they don't know what they do. Because even though we're doing it to him, it was not about him. It was those people who were doing it to themselves. So this is the same thing that happens and plays out. That whatever you would be trying to like really avoid would end up becoming the thing that creates a void and fills that void. You know, those spirits, they just look for spaces they can fill. So it fills what the void you try to avoid. So those people, they have a void in them, which is a scarcity mindset because it would be like a way of saying it can only be as such. So you can't change because it has to be this way. So this is different from what you call a growth mindset. So I think the person who wrote a book on growth mindset is Carol Dweck. I don't know. But it's like there are different ways of seeing a slice. You can either divide the slice, so you want a bigger slice, you always want a bigger slice. And this is the general way of seeing things like, all right, how can I get the biggest slice, right? But then the better way is literally to just get a bigger pie so that everyone gets a big slice, regardless. So that's the whole difference. Like it's the same cake or whatever it is, but then the perspective is in how we see how we want to slice it. Do we just want to get bigger slices, or do you just actually want a bigger pie? Which changes the whole perspective. So it's a perspective like that. So if it's that situation, it could happen on a subconscious level whereby your own thoughts and intentions and habits and abilities will be affected, your perspectives will be affected, even subconsciously, or even those people do it subconsciously to you, whatever the situation is. It's like the change has to happen because God will change you, like refreshed. Like being born again is a whole change, it's a flip up. So the moment you are born again, there's going to be that friction. That's guaranteed just because of change. So, so as a human, we have this irrational fear. But what's incredible about the Bible is that it gives us this remedy to this irrational fear. So one of the ways we're told to do this is to is for us to be able to actually develop this faculty of prophecy. And the ability for us to prophesy is our ability to prevent anything that could sabotage us because prophecy means profiting. So it will give us anything that would do something to build and to grow. So the Bible tells us the real reason for prophecy in 1 Corinthians, I think, chapter 14, 1 Corinthians 14, where it says, like, when you're prophesying, the reason people prophesy is so that they can build up. So if you're around a situation or environment where it's hard for you to build up, it means that you can't prophesy. And that prophecy has to be the process you're looking for. So it would be like instead of making constructive words, you'll see there's deconstruction. Like, how could you ever do that? You're this person. So it's not a prophecy that is building. So prophecy that is deconstructing, and prophecy is using words. So it will be like very deconstructive. So which is why you need to understand that when those words come, they'll come in the guise of light, because at the end of it all, there's the angel of light who masquerades as light, but he's of darkness. So there's dark light. And then there's the angel of good, which is God, Father of lights, and there's good light. So there's black light and white light, but it's all light. But you have to understand what is happening and discern the true light, because it will come as advice that's good, and that will actually make you stay the same. Like, no, you can't do that. You know you can't do that. And then you're like, all right, that's true. So you always need to be aware of that. And to close it all off, I'll say Proverbs 27:17 here. It says, iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. So this is talking about friendship. Iron sharpens iron. So you should be in a place where you're able to be sharpened. And when we talk about sharp, we're talking about sharp is also knowledge. And we're also talking about iron sharpens iron, sharp. And then we're talking about this being the continents, which is brightness, which comes through sharp, being bright, being sharp. So this is a person who keeps you bright, keeps you sharp, keeps you in the loop, keeps you going on. But anything that happens in the behind that, like opposite of that, doesn't tell you, like doesn't tell you everything, stuff like that. You just see like, no, this is keeping me dull, or is this keeping me sharp? And that's how you know, like, nah, like this is not gonna make me change. So this is a very important topic, and change is always good, especially since God decreed it. It says, be fruitful and multiply, adding on. So we also have to grow, add on. So this is the topic, why they don't want you to change. So I hope you change for good, change for Christ, change in the right way, because that change will benefit everybody. Because nothing would change if nothing changes. And the only thing at this point that we need is change.